Morning. It does such a great job, but I can say happy Easter. I can say welcome across the country. And we're so glad that you are here with us today, that you decided to rise and shine. And so we want to begin today, as we always do, by doing an opening invocation and recognizing, realizing, and knowing that right where we are, God is. So if you'd just like to take a moment and turn within with me. And let us know in this very moment, in this now moment, there is only this moment. And this one moment is complete. It is perfect. And it is the fullness and the completeness, the totality of God right where we are in this very moment. That it is the absolute source of who and what we are. That there is no other, there's no other power, there is no other energy. There is only God within. And so we open our hearts and minds this day to simply allow it to be the presence, the power, and the goodness that our life is. We are open and available to the message this day because we know that that message is our message. However we hear it, it is our message. And so we are accepting that this moment, that the spirit of life itself flowing in, through, and as us is helping us to hear what we need to hear, understand what we need to understand, and grow through whatever awareness is that we need to grow through so that we may hear and experience the fullness and the completeness of who we are in this moment and forevermore. And so it is. And so it is. And so if you stand with me, we're going to have our vision and mission statement. CSL West Georgia is a joyful global community where everyone belongs. Through our unique spiritual teachings, we provide a safe environment to experience compassionate living. In the Declaration of Principles, I believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. I believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. And today we're going to sing It's a Wonderful World. Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Connie and I would like you to sing along with us. I see trees of green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people going by. See friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. And I myself, what a wonderful world. Just look around at the azaleas.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay. Good morning, CSL West Georgia. The reading today is from Richard Carlson, which make no worry, make money. The title, Let Go of Fearful Thoughts. If you gathered up all the fearful thoughts that exist in the mind of the average person, looked at them objectively, and tried to decide just how much good they provided that person, you would see that not some, but all fearful thoughts are useless. They do no good. Zero. They interfere with dreams, hopes, desires, and progress. Fearful thoughts take many different forms. Sometimes they sound reasonable. I'm just being careful, so I'm taking my time. Other times, they are tied up to your past. I've tried that before and it didn't work. Occasionally, fears are cleverly disguised as being realistic. Most people fail, so I want to be absolutely sure before I get started. I could fill a page. I could fill a page after page after page with many examples. Yet, when you take a close, honest look at every fearful thought, there are threads of similarity. All of them are explanations or rationalizations for why something shouldn't, couldn't, and can't work. They are usually justifications for quitting or not getting started. To me, fearful thoughts are like a leash on an energetic dog. They hold you back, not some, but all the time. A critic, especially a fearful one, will look at this advice and say, it's unrealistic, it's simplistic, and basically foolish. The problem with overcoming these objections is that on the surface, that sounds reasonable. Let me assure you that I'm not suggesting you ignore the facts and take unnecessary or foolish risk. Nor am I suggesting that you should attempt something you are totally unqualified for. For example, if your dream is to play basketball with the NBA and you're 45 and you're overweight and you're 5'4", it's not going to happen. What I'm talking about here are fears that clearly and directly interfere with your dreams. The fear of rejection, the fear of failure. Thoughts like, what will everyone think of me? I might look foolish, or I don't think I can do that. I don't have the time. I don't have the experience. I don't have the confidence, and I definitely don't have the budget. These common, ongoing, fearful thoughts are the dream snatchers of our making. For example, I know a person who was working as an independent salesperson. Her goal was to double her income. Her rational
fear played itself out like this. I can't call people on the weekends because I might offend them or take them away from their family time. The truth, of course, was that she was scared, she was frightened to make the calls. So for years, and I mean years, she didn't make the call. And she always felt or fell short of her goal. Then one day she just decided to simply drop that fear and pick up the phone because more of her clients were home and tended to be more relaxed on the weekends. She discovered that it was the best, most possible time to call. Once she dropped that fear, it was so easy. Her income didn't double, it tripled. At the risk of being overly simplistic, let me suggest you try something that can change your life and make a commitment that for the next month you will practice dropping and or ignoring any negative or fearful thoughts that enter into your mind. As fear comes to mind, gently but firmly let them go. As they return, which they will, let them go again. It's easier than you think. It just takes courage, little practice. Do this again and again until they disappear completely. You'll discover that life is so much easier and much more fun without the interference of fearful thoughts. Thank you.
Well, I thank you, Miss Dorothea. In your Easter bonnet with all. I wish I knew that song. Go, girl. Connie and I have a song for you this morning. I read somewhere that the opposite of fear is love. And every time I come in this room, I feel the love. And I hope you do too. And this song is called There Is Only Love. In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, then I go inside and quiet my mind. I can hear spirits say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
Wow, that's great. Thank you. That is a wonderful song. And it goes so well with the fear, you know? Yeah. So here's the thing about Easter. Some people wear Easter bonnets, some don't. And didn't you love Dorothea's bonnet? Yes, that was so gorgeous. So now what you online, see there, you always miss something if you're online. I don't want, you'll get the fullness of the talk, but today you missed something. You missed the basket of eggs that look like this. They're all sparkly and everything over there. You missed a little bunny that's sitting there too. But most of all, you missed the most glorious thing in this room. It is Dorothea's orange, sparkly 5-inch heels. Yeah. So she may not be able to play basketball, but she can wear those heels. Okay, good morning. We're talking today about reveal, release, and rise up. It's Easter, and you always think you talk about Easter rising up, Jesus rising. I don't want to talk about Jesus today. Well, incidentally, but not exactly. I want to talk about the disciples. We always miss them in the Easter story, but yet they are very prominent and they're very important. They have a very important message for you and I, okay? So let's focus on them. Now, keep something in mind. This is the end of Jesus's life. This is the weekend, quote unquote, that he was crucified, was in the tomb, and then rose up on Easter Sunday. But before he did that, they had Passover, which was the Jewish, for us it's the Last Supper because it was Jesus' last Passover. So for Christians, that is. So he went to the Passover dinner, and then he served the disciples every time. He washed their feet. He fed them wine and bread, which has become part of for many Christian churches, it's part of the Easter celebration. But here's the thing: afterwards, he went into the garden to pray, and he said to the disciples, "Come with me." But I want you to stay awake, stay on watch while I'm in here praying. And now keep in mind, these are the 12 disciples that he has been with for 3 years. He has traveled with them. They have traveled with him. They have listened to the parables that he taught them, which was his teaching tool. They watched him perform miracles. They watched him perform healings. They watched him minister to people who were Jews and people who were not, those who were enemies of the Jews, like the Romans at the time. And they watched all of this. They participated in all of this. And so he says to them, he served them at, he's acknowledged them at the dinner. And then he goes in the garden, and all he asks of them is to stay awake, stay watch. And you know what they did? They went to sleep. Every last one of them. They went to sleep. It's like Jesus only asked one thing of you, just to stay awake, and you went to sleep. Think about that. In Luke, it says that he found them sleeping because of their distress. Now, I want you to know, we go to sleep on our distress. Now, what is distress? Fear. That the story that Dorothea read this morning is the woman was asleep that whole time. What she did was she felt the fear, and she couldn't do it anyway, which is something some people say. She couldn't do it anyway. She went to sleep. And when we're asleep, we are what? Unconscious. So what Jesus is saying is stay awake. Do not go unconscious. Something is going to happen, and you need to pay attention to what is going on. But the disciples were too distressed about the whole thing because he had already told them that he was going to the cross, right? That where he was going, they could not follow. And they were already distressed about that. So what did they do? They fell asleep. They got distressed. They were fearful. They were lacking in understanding and awareness. And so they fell asleep. And we do that all the time. That's the part of the Easter story that we don't always see. That we fall asleep in times that are important and crucial in our lives. And we miss something. But Jesus didn't let them miss anything. He woke them up. He said, rise up and pray that you may not enter into temptation. So why is he saying that? Rise up and pray. So when you rise up, what are you doing? You're coming from the darkness or the depths. You're coming from the unconscious into the light, into the awareness, into consciousness. And then what do? You pray. What are you doing when you're praying? You're connecting with the spirit within. You're connecting with the God that you believe in. What's our declaration say? I believe that God is personal to all who feel his indwelling presence. And so therefore you want to feel that indwelling presence. That is what you're doing when you pray. So I remember when I was just a wee little kid, I was probably in either kindergarten or first grade, and kids used to tease me all the time. I don't remember what they teased me about. I remember my mother telling me, because they would tease me and I would cry. And so my mother said, well, don't cry, and they'll stop teasing you, because they're teasing you because they want to see you cry. Well, a mother wants to stop the pain, doesn't she? She wanted to stop my pain from being hurt by kids teasing me. But so the message that I got at the time was, don't cry when you are what? Hurt. Okay? What would have been better for her to say to me? Perhaps if she had said, well, why are they teasing you? What are they saying to you? Because then she could have taught me what to do when kids tease me. Now, what is teasing? It's humiliation. It's put downs. It's somebody saying something bad about you, but they're saying it in a joking way. We've all heard that. Well, can't you just take a joke? Haven't you? I mean, who hasn't heard that, right? Can't you just take a joke? Yeah. No. Can't take a joke, okay? Not that joke, all right? Not when the joke is on me. That's distress. And what happens is we have those kinds of distresses throughout our lives. And instead of asking the question, why am I getting distressed? We take that distress and do what the disciples did. We go to sleep. We go unconscious. And so the next time it happens, what happens? We don't know how to deal with it. So it's another distress. It just piles on, distress after distress after distress, distress. And you get to how many people you see and they go like, I just can't cry. Little boys are taught, don't cry. All right. But tears are a way that we release the stress that we're having. That's saying we're having emotional pain. Now, if I put my hand in the fire, what happens? I pull it right out because it's painful. It hurts. And nobody disagrees with that. But yet, if somebody hurts your feelings, what are you supposed to do? Don't cry. Just stuff it. In other words, go to sleep. And that's what the disciples did. There was so much distress. They have been with Jesus all these years. No doubt they loved him so much. And now he's telling them, the scripture says that I am going, he didn't say to the cross, but, I cannot be with you. I am going to leave you, and where I go, you cannot go. So he's saying, I'm going to die, and you cannot die with me. And they are like, but we love you. We don't want you to leave us. And so they go to sleep because they want to go unconscious. They don't want to pay attention to the distress that they're having. I thought that was really interesting, very mature of the Bible to say they were in distress. Because the Bible doesn't usually use modern kind of words like that, right? So here's the thing. We're reading this book. If you haven't, the 4 spiritual laws of prosperity. Just because Easter's here doesn't mean that we can just say, well, we're going to forget the book. No, the book ties in with our lesson today. Okay. So in the book, this week is on chapter 8, and it's the importance of commitment. And so in this chapter, Edwina, if you haven't read this book, you have to read it, because her books are not boring. It has so many stories in it, it's ridiculous. She has a story to illustrate almost everything she's saying. If it's not coming from her life, it's coming from somebody else's life. And so the story this week on commitment is Mildred's story. And what happened with Mildred is that, we'll back up. Edwina, remember years ago when they had Haley's Comet? Remember, those of us who are old enough, that is, those of us who are of an age, remember that Haley's Comet was in the 80s somewhere, and it was only every 70 years or something like that it came. My grandmother was old enough, and she was like, I remember when that happened before, because she was born in 1899, right? So in the 70s, she's in her 70s, and she's like, yeah, I remember that. Okay, but the best place to see it, Edwina said, was in the South Pacific, and she decided that she wanted to go to the South Pacific to see Haley's Comet, which is something you can't do in 70 years, but she did not have the money to go on this trip. And so she prayed, and she said, God, give me, a way to go on this trip. So she slept on it, and she woke up the next morning, and she got an idea. And that idea was to create a cruise. So she called some friend, travel agent, somebody who helped her to book a cruise. And she asked, how many people do I have to have on that cruise before my fee is paid? And so he said 18. And if you will get the 18 people, I will give you a first class berth room on the ship. So she said, fine. So she went to her various meetings, she'd come to various churches, and she would talk about commitment, and because at the time she was talking on commitment, and so she went talking about commitment everywhere, and people were coming to her and saying, I want to go on that cruise. And so this one woman came up to her at one of the little workshops somewhere, she said, in the Midwest, and she said, I want to go on the cruise. Oh, by the way, the cruise cost $3,000, and you needed $1,000 deposit. So anyway, the woman came up to her, and she said, I want to go on the cruise. And so she said, here's my check. She gave her an envelope with her check in it. And Edwina took the check, and it wasn't until later that she realized that the woman had only given her a check for $10. And she goes like, that's not what the deposit is $1,000. So she called the woman up, and she said, I think you misunderstood. The deposit is $1,000. And the woman said, I know, I understood, and I have $10, and and don't worry, I'm going on that cruise. And so Edwina argued with her back and forth, and then the woman, so finally she said, you know what, it's okay, I'll take the $10 deposit. So anyway, Edwina goes on, she gets everybody signed up, and while she's signing people up, all along the way, the woman is sending her, $12. The most she got was $12 from her, but like $3 here, $2 and something there, and she would just a few dollars till she got to $97. And when she had at $97, Edwina had booked everybody on that trip, all 18. So she calls the woman up. She says, you know what? The trip is full. I'm really sorry, but I'm going to send you back your $97 because the trip is full. And the woman said, don't send it back. She says, because I am going. Every time Edwina talked to this woman, she told her, I am going on this trip. So anyway, the time came the week before the trip. One of the women on the trip called up Edwina and said, I've been trying everything I possibly can to get out of this court situation, but the judge will not allow it to change, and I have to be in court the week that we are going on the cruise. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go on the cruise, but I know that it's too late. I've been on enough cruises. I know I'm not going to get my money back. Is there anybody that you think would like to take this cruise and could take my place? Get out of here. Okay. That's not what I expected. I don't know about you, but I expected the woman's going to call up and say, "Guess what? Somebody gave me this money." No. And then she calls the woman, and the woman says, "Thank you very much. My bags are packed." She had already packed her bags. So when she was knowing, she was committed. She did what she could do to take that trip. It's a true story, people. And and the thing is that I'm reading this, but years ago, I had a woman in my church who did exactly the same thing. She wanted to go to Boston in the fall. And this was like, I think April or May. It was around this time of year. And she wanted to see, she had never been to see the trees. Because in California, you don't see trees turning, okay? They don't change colors. Okay? They do for here, but nothing like they do on the East Coast. So she wanted to go to Boston and all up along the coast to see the trees in the fall. And she did not have the money. And so she didn't have a trip like Edwin had, planned, but she was going on her own. And so every once in a while she'd come to me, "Reverend Sandra, can we pray with me for this?" Yes. Okay. We prayed for it. And at different times she said, "I got an idea to do blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Well, go do that." And then it was like, I need to go do this. And the first thing, it was like, I need to go buy some luggage because I don't have luggage for a trip. So she went and bought the luggage. And then, she went and bought something else, and she bought clothes because she needed different clothes for being on the East Coast. So she was doing all of these things. She was taking steps towards this trip. And in the meantime, somewhere or another, I don't remember the details at the end, but she went on that trip. The trip that she did not have the money for in April or May, she had the money to go and do her trip. See, the thing is that we have to be like Mildred. She was awake for several months, knowing that she was going on this trip. And all you people who are always asking me how, she didn't ask how. Think about it. She didn't ask how. If she had asked how, she would have done like you and I and figured out, let's see, who can I borrow this money from? Which credit card can I use? Which friend can I say, or now the day is do a GoFundMe, okay? Or something. But she would have looked for ways for that to work out. And by being creative and knowing the creative process and allowing Spirit to just keep saying, "This is what I want, Spirit. Bring it to me. This is what I want. Bring it to me. This is what I want. Bring it to me." And guess what happens? Spirit goes like, I think we can do that. Now, what happened with the woman on the other side? I don't know what her issue was. It doesn't matter what her issue was. What mattered is this woman stayed focused on this trip. That was committed. And the things that we want in our life, we have to be committed to having. This woman and the disciples are symbolic of something we all have within ourselves. We all have the desire to do something, to experience something in our lives. We all have the weakness, because Jesus said to the spirit is strong, but the body is what? Weak. And what is the body? It's looking out there. It's looking out there for your answers. It's like Mildred didn't look out there for her answers. She looked to the Spirit. And the creative process that we talked about earlier this month means it always says yes. It figures out how, because there's a harmony through all of life. We are not always in harmony with all of life. And so we don't always know the avenues through which our good is to come. And so by letting go, by staying awake and not going to sleep unconscious with the distress and the fear and the anxiety and the misunderstanding and the lack of belief and all that stuff that gets in the way of our good, by staying awake to knowing the truth and allowing it to be revealed to us, then what happens is we begin to rise up and know that there is a truth that is expressing and can be expressed in, through, and as us. We have to learn to live beyond our, fears. We have to learn to release them and stay awake to the good that we are in desire of. Because beyond the weakness, there is fear. Emerson said, God will not have his work made by cowards. Let me say that again. God will not have his work made by cowards. Always, 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 always do what you do what you are afraid to do. Like the woman in the reading this morning, do what you're afraid to do. Why? Because the spirit of life is there to catch you, to lift you up, to move you, but you have to stay conscious. And sometimes staying conscious is staying conscious to your fears that you have, being aware. Okay, being aware, allow yourself to reveal to yourself the fears that you have, the misunderstandings, the lack of belief, and all that stuff. And then let it go. Once you know what it is, and it's okay, ask the question, well, what am I afraid of? You know, it's like my mother with the teasing. Well, what are you being teased about? What is it that you're afraid of? And then you can come up with an answer that answers the question of what I am afraid of. And as you reveal that to yourself, then you can do what? You can release it. You can let it go. You don't have to have it be something that is in your path, stopping you from being who it is that you're supposed to be. And the next step is rise up. So what did Jesus say to the people? Rise up, but not just get up. There was something he said to do. Rise up and what? Pray. Right? So rise up and think higher thoughts. Fear thoughts are lower thoughts, but the song this morning, there's only love. So if nothing else, look at the whole situation and go like, well, what is there to love in this situation? If I make this commitment, what is there to love? What is there to be joyful about? What is there to be happy about? And find that piece of the puzzle as opposed to just looking at what blocks us. I want to promise you, something will always block your path. Something will always block your path. And that's why Emerson is saying it takes someone who's brave and not a coward. Because cowards do what? They distract, they retract, they move away. But courageous people move forward even with their fear. Edwene says in her book on page 160, she says, she used to pray like this, God, this is Edwene, as though God didn't know who she was. I always love that when she always says that. She says, God, this is Edwene. It's like, and so God doesn't know who you are? Okay, well, let's just let that go. She says, God, this is Edwene. I'm right here. Just tell me what you want, anything, and I'll do it. Whatever you want, I'll be there. I'm right behind you, right, ready to go. Just give me a sign. It's like, you know, I remember years ago, people were like, well, I just want to do what God wills me to do. Well, see, Jesus said that too, and they misunderstand. Because Jesus said, let this cup be passed from me. If there's anything else I can do, you know, let this cup. No, what is this cup? He's talking about death in that point. But we all have a cup. And the cup is filled with something that we do not want. Think about that. It's filled with anxiety or fear or the beliefs that we've held that we're having trouble letting go of. Or it could be other people. That too. There are people who stand in our way, or we think they're standing in our way, right? So our cup is filled with anything that blocks our way and stops us from moving forward. So that's our cup. And Jesus says, all right, I have this cup. I don't want it, but thy will be done. And so this looks like Edwin saying, thy will be done, but not really. Jesus is knowing that God's will is what? Good. He knows, and what he has said to the disciples, I am going to the Father who what? Sent me. I am going to the Father who sent me. So when we are doing God's will, what are we doing? We're aligning ourselves with that which is good. And so Edwin says, when she got quiet and she began to listen, she heard this. Edwin, this is God. I'm right here. Just tell me what you want, anything, and I'll do it. Whatever you want, I'll be there. That's our creative process. That's the yes. That's when we know what it is we want, when we have a desire and we're willing to speak it, commit to it, do what we need to do to get everything out of the way so that God can then move in our lives. Spirit moves in our lives all the time, just like traffic on the freeway. But what happens periodically? We get stopped by the red light. And what happens at the red light? Some of us start cussing it out because it stopped us from getting where we wanted to go on time. But stop and think about this. That red light is giving you a chance to pause, think, decide. Do I really want to move forward in this way? So I'm using that as a physical thing, but it's something also in our mind too. Something is always going to be in the way. That's just the way of life. Something is always, always, always. The question is, when something gets in the way, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to be like Mildred and go like, hey, I know I'm going on this trip. I don't know how it's happening, but I'm going. Spirit is going to give it to me. Or are you going to be like the disciples and go to sleep, go unconscious, and not be present to the good that you have to offer? Jesus woke them up, but who's going to wake you up? That's the question. Maybe you have to wake yourself up. So, Mildred and Jesus and the disciple, which one of those do you relate to the most? Which one is most symbolic of your life? Which one is your story? Let us take these thoughts and turn within. So we are knowing in this very moment that the very life that we live is God, is Spirit. And just like God speaks to Edwin, God speaks to each one of us as well. Are we willing? Are we open? Are we available to listen, to hear, and to be guided? Or are we weak of body and mired in the fear and the misunderstanding and the lack of guidance that we feel from the world outside of us? And so I'm speaking my word and knowing that in this very moment that we have the ability and the desire to make the change. If we are listening to this message today, there is something in this message that is for us. It is for us to be divinely guided and directed in our life going forward from this moment on. And so I am knowing in this moment that there is a truth, there is an understanding, and there is a willingness and a commitment to do what is needed and necessary so that we are fully and completely knowing that the very truth of who we are is Spirit, that our very life force moving in us and through us with every breath is Spirit, confirming and reminding us that we are who we are that we are not just human, but we are divine, and the divinity within us, through us, and as us is readily available for us to be guided and directed in every single moment of our life. We can have the Mildred experience. We don't have to fall asleep like the disciples. Instead, we can stay awake to the truth of our being. We can rise up and pray and know the truth of who we are. And so we are staying conscious this day. This glorious Easter day, we are knowing that this moment on is a new beginning, and we rejoice knowing that it is so. And so with deep gratitude and thanksgiving, I release this word, knowing that each one of us is experiencing it at the level of our own understanding and the presence of the indwelling God within us. And so with gratitude, with thanksgiving, and with deep joy and love, I am releasing this word, knowing that it is done. And so it is.
So it is.
And so it is.
So it is. Connie, will you check your mic real quick? We had a little technical difficulty.
Testing.
That's
Testing.
better. Yeah, okay. Here we go. I picked a song that I know Reverend Sandra loves, and I love it too. It's called Surely the Presence of the Lord is in this place. And I feel it. And I hope you all feel it too. In the midst of his children, the Lord said he would be. It doesn't take very many. It can be just 2 or 3. And I feel that same sweet spirit that I felt all times before. Surely I can say that I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. In the holy hush around us, as God's glory fills the place, I've touched the hem of his garment. I can almost see his face, and my heart is overflowing with the fullness of his joy. And I know without a doubt that I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I want to sing that one more time, that chorus, and we're going to sing it really quiet. And I feel the holy hush around us, and I see the glory on every face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power His grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Just want to meditate after that.
I knew I'd get
Thank you. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I love that song. That's a good congregational song too, you know.
Yeah.
Just the chorus part is really good. Yeah. Okay, so in your program is our conscious giving affirmation. Please join me. Freely I give with a feeling of abundance, knowing that my gift blesses others and myself as well.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I am. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I'm so grateful. I am so blessed.
Okay, thank you. And our affirmation. I am grateful for the divine givingness circulating abundantly through my life, our community, and our world. So as I have said before, you can take that affirmation and post it somewhere in your house or on your wallet or whatever, and use it when you circulate money, because you're not just circulating it here, you're circulating it out in the world. And what goes out, what? Comes back. Yes. Okay. Just like what goes up goes down. Okay, so welcome to those of you, one who I know, but one who I do not know, and
Welcome.
And one who I just met. And look, yes, that's Riley. She's clapping. Said, "Finally, you guys let me do something here." All right. So Raquel and Riley, thank you for joining us today. And I don't know your name, but Candid. Cagney, like Cagney and Lacey? Oh my God, okay. Now you see how old I am. Okay, yeah. Anyway, welcome you guys. Thank you for being here today. Welcome, welcome. Happy Easter to everybody. I hope you have nice plans for this afternoon. But we thought about this last week at the board meeting and decided that we were going to celebrate Easter. And so after service today, there's treats aplenty over there. Deborah was not able to be here because her grandchildren were having an Easter program that she promised to attend. But in that Easter basket that she decorated so glorious, she told us she was going to do it, and she did. Okay, can you bring it over here so everybody can see it? Yes. There is, unfortunately, those of you online, we can't, well, we could do this, throw it out to you, but she put in here a basket for each of us. Look at this. Wow. Look at this. Okay, and so there is a Easter bunny in here, there are Easter eggs, and then there's little thing for everybody to take home when they leave today. So thank you so much. Be sure and get Riley a basket too, or yeah. Okay, so announcements. I forgot where I was. All right, so on the 24th, which is next Sunday, we're having potluck. We're having potluck here. You can bring food physically, or those of you online, get some lunch for yourself. And it is the last week of our talking about our 4 spiritual laws of prosperity. So we're going to create a little program, but I'm going to invite those of you who've been reading with us to tell us your experience of reading the book and, what has happened in your life, if there are some changes and whatever sharing that you would like to do on that. So plan to stay after service next week. And then the following week, in May 1st, we're going to have a community memorial service. During the pandemic, people were not allowed to gather for memorials. We had 2 people in our congregation passed away during that time. Sally Hunt, the very first Sunday we were gone, that we were online, she passed away that afternoon. And then Linda Phillips passed away last May. I think it was last May. Anyway, so we have been wanting to memorialize them and we haven't been able to. And so we decided that what we would do is have a memorial service, not just for those 2, but for anybody in our community who has had someone pass away. And we're going to have it online too. So if you have people online that you would like to memorialize, please feel free to participate. What we would like to do is have pictures, because we have the nice screen up here. We can put pictures up of the people. So if you have pictures, please do go online to our CSL West Georgia web email and email us that you want to do, and we'll give you instructions on what to do in order to have those pictures. Please don't wait till the day before May 1st, do it as soon as possible so that we'll have time, because Marcia is probably the one that's going to do it, and she works during the week. Okay, so we don't want to overload her. All right, so that is our service for today.
I have one more announcement.
Okay.
Sherry Henley will be here next Sunday.
Oh, Sherry, we have live music. Isn't that nice? And Sherry loves to come here. I know she does. And she loves being here. So please do, join us. Okay. All right. So that is our service for today. So shall we? We are going to do our closing affirmation and then we're going to sing. We change it around so that we sing the peace song at the end. So in your program is our closing community affirmation. We go forth today knowing that we are God's blessing in the world. Only good goes from us and only good comes to us. And so it is. Okay.
Everybody gonna sing with us and stand up and send peace out into the world. Like, we sure need it.
Were you coming in here? Oh.
Let there be peace on earth. Let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth. Can we start over, folks? I think I hit the wrong. Do you mind? If you know, that's so high, nobody can sing it, including me. I don't know what happened. I got a lot of moving parts up here, and my brain's not always one of them. All right, we're going to try that again. What do you think, Tommy? All right. Okay. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With good as one, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be thy moment now. sweetie. Huh? We already did that.